But if you like what you see here, I would highly encourage you to subscribe to the channel. It means a lot and it also helps out a ton. So again, like what you see, please subscribe to the channel. Hello, we're gonna do something a little different this video. You see, I have noticed that in the Pokemon community, we have a lot of educated people. Rosemary studied biology, Moxie has a degree in physics, and Aaron Zhang just graduated with a master's in business. But here's the thing though, none of us use our degrees for content. And all that changes today, because I'm going to use my biology degree to explain the science behind a beloved Pokemon. Eevee. Wait, hang on. I should probably show my biology degree for like proof.
It's up there, but you can't see it.
Here's the receipt. Oh, that glare. My biology degree. We all know Eevee. My coworkers who don't even play Pokemon can point out the Eevee pin on my lanyard when I go to work. However, how does Eevee work? You see, Pokemon will transform into other Pokemon in a process called evolution, even though it's more like metamorphosis, but whatever. And Eevee is unique in that it can evolve into 1 out of 8 different Pokemon that are extremely unique and very, very diverse. So how does it do it? If only we had somebody who was getting a PhD in cancer and cell biology and has a hyperfixation for Pokemon to explain everything to you. Oh wait, we do. It's me. So sit back and relax and let me explain the epigenetic changes and how they affect gene expression and make Eevee work. Also, quick side note, if this video gets like 10 likes, I will send this to my PI or my PhD mentor so he can rip it apart or whatever. And it'll be very, very fun, I guess. No, it won't. But anyway, so Eevee in the Pokemon world is a living creature. It has DNA like the rest of us, the building blocks of life, if you will. Now, your DNA is like code, giving your body blueprints to make things that are part of you. These instructions for each specific trait are called genes. For example, Pikachu has genes that allows it to produce electric shocks, while Charizard has genes that allow it to produce intense flames. However, just because a gene is present doesn't mean that it is actually on. A good example of this is how like a lot of white kids are blonde when they're young but become brunette when they age. So they have a gene for darker hair, but it's not yet showing itself. Eevee is no different. I just compared Pokemon to white kids, okay. I'm sorry, I need a moment. Within each Eevee are the genes to become a Flareon, Jolteon, Espeon, etc. But those genes aren't turned on yet. By the way, when a gene isn't turned on, we scientists say that that gene is not expressed because we make everything more convoluted than it has to be. So what gives? What makes Eevee turn into, say, a Leafeon? Well, it gets more complex. You see, the way that your genes are read are through a lot of complex proteins that will actually attach to the DNA itself. And without any binding, you get no expression. Now, your DNA is actually well organized, wrapped around these other proteins called histones. Think of your DNA as spaghetti, and the histones are like meatballs. These combine to make what we call chromatin. Now, if the gene is wrapped around a histone, then it can't have all those proteins bind to it, so you get no expression. If you have a gene that is not wrapped around a histone and is just out in the open, then you have your proteins bind to it, and that leads to expression. Now, here's the kicker. Your histones have the ability to be modified to change how they wrap around DNA, exposing and concealing different genes. This is what Eevee is doing when it evolves, modifying how those histones are wrapped around the DNA and changing what my mentor would call the chromatin landscape to lead to widespread changes in gene expression. Now, Let's look at an example of Eevee evolving into Leafeon, for example, because that's the easiest one to explain. Now, both Eevee and Leafeon have the gene that will allow the body to produce chloroplast, the part of the cell that performs photosynthesis and gives leaves that green color. However, Eevee isn't green because of those chloroplast genes are tightly wrapped around that histone and can't be expressed. However, if it evolves into a Leafeon, that chromatin landscape changes and boom, you can now express chloroplast and you become a Leafeon. And you won't get this expression of genes that give you chloroplast if you were, say, a Flareon, because those genes would stay silent and other genes would be active to, say, make Eevee's body warmer to become Flareon. That was a lot. So go off and share your newfound information about chromatin and DNA and gene expression, and remember that you are loved, that you matter. Goodbye.